Porky's bringing 2 spotlight events on us. Let's talk about them and about the Wizarding Weekend. I'm Professorvoqas, and this is Harry Potter Wizards Unite.
Hello, Professor. I didn't see you there.
Yesterday, a post went out from Lola on the Wizards Unite Discord, and I was even kind of not paying attention to things, so I actually saw this message this morning. I didn't even look at it yesterday, because I really wasn't too involved yesterday with a lot of Discord and Reddit for Wizards Unite. I was doing some pre-Thanksgiving things. But anyway, I was essentially prepping for the Wizarding Weekend guide that you'll see in just a second, but they went ahead and surprised us with 2 spotlight events. It's something that Pokemon Go actually introduced a little while back, where they pick a certain Pokemon and they'll have like an hour or whatever that Pokemon is spotlighted, and it just appears a whole bunch. You can just kind of plan on playing for that hour. This one's definitely a bit longer. It's happening November 25th, which is the day I'm making this video, so you're probably, if you see this video right when it comes out, you may still have some time left. And then November 26th, Thursday, which is actually Thanksgiving Day in the United States. Today, November 25th, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., if you use tonic for trace detection, not just in the wild, but you actually have to use a tonic for this. I imagine if you saw some other ones, it was just lucky in the wild as opposed to specifically being produced for this event. But there's 4 foundables that are going to be popping up from tonic for trace detection. They're the Dumbledore's Portrait, the Monster Book of Monsters, the Niffler, and then Omnoculars. So for me, it's about 12 o'clock right now, and once I finish editing this video and uploading it, I'm actually going to definitely run some tonics, because I can definitely use some Nifflers. The other 3, not nearly as much. Even Omnoculars, because of that last event, I essentially got enough. But the Niffler is the one that I definitely can use for that page. Moving on to tomorrow's, where if you see this video today, or when it a little bit after it comes out, you'll at least have tomorrow to already kind of plan on, which is Thanksgiving Day, but it will be more fortress related. This is something completely different than I guess we've ever done, in that there'll be 3 very specific chambers, not a chamber and higher or something like that. Very specific. If you go into this exact chamber, you will get this exact foundable. Now, keep in mind, you're still going to have to use the runestone from that family, but then you know you're going to get that. So it all starts out with Tower Chamber 5, and that's actually going to get you the Thunderbird, which is located in the Magizoology Registry. And then going up to Forest Chamber 5, which is going to get you the Puffskein, which is from Care of Magical Creatures. And then all the way up to Dark 5, which will get you the Wild Boar from 9 3/4 Hogwarts, the one that has the 9 3/4 symbol. So those 3 very specific chambers. If you go to other chambers, I'm guessing, and it should be it's just kind of the normal randomness of whatever runestone you get, you could get any of those things. Don't forget, when you go into a fortress, you can always click at the top of the screen in that the waiting room. You can always click at the top and it'll say, you know, foundables that are possible. So you can always look to see what's going on there, and just double check when you go into one of those chambers that it actually says that specific thing. Keep in mind, both these events, again, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., that is local time. So for the tonics, just means you just need to put your tonics on then. For the night bus, keep in mind that if somebody outside of the event starts the fortress and you're like the 2nd or 3rd person in, and say they're in a different country, and in that country or that time area zone, it is not 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., then this may not work. So if you ever don't get it, think about that. You're better off starting your own chamber whenever possible. And I don't necessarily mean running it solo. If it's like Dark 5, that would be a little bit more difficult. But try to start your own Dark 5 and then have other people come in. Just a safer way to do it. Although usually during these events, anybody starting a Dark 5 at that time is probably in the event in some fashion, and that's why they're running it. And if they're not, then they wouldn't be running them right then. And I believe the main reason that both of these events weren't planned out and announced earlier, which would have helped out just to kind of plan it, is, in their words, they actually said, we are experimenting with these type of events. So they're just kind of chucking them out there real quick and doing that. Although I guess it won't be a true indicator of how many people would necessarily participate. 1, because part of it's on Thanksgiving, and then 2, they just didn't give us enough warning to be able to plan out and say, oh, I'm going to make sure to play that day, or move some things around, and I'm going to do this at this time so I have the time during the event. But I am glad to see they're experimenting with some things like this that don't involve tasks or anything like that. It's just like, hey, if you want to do this stuff, you get things, and if you're not interested, if it's not things you need, then you don't have to worry about it because you're not missing out on any restricted section books or Defense Against Dark Art books or anything like that. So it is good to see them trying out new things, and then maybe they can make tweaks to it and get it down to where these type of events would be great, like twice a month, midweek, to be able to throw it out there. Even if I can't do it because my time sometimes midweek during these types of times would be super limited. But if they were able to do it, that would be great, I think, for a lot of different people. Moving on to the Care of Magical Creatures, mostly weekend that's coming up. It will go Friday to Monday like normal, 11 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. So figure out in your time zone where does that fall. And of course it will have some tasks, but we're going to talk about the 5 foundables that it kind of revolves around. 4 of them are Care of Magical Creatures, and then 1 is actually Wonders of the Wizarding World. So as you can see, it's Dragon Egg, Baby Norwegian Ridgeback, it is Buckbeak, it is Grop. Grop is from Wonders of the Wizarding World, so they kind of threw him in there. And Hagrid. So of those, Hagrid, as well as the Baby Norwegian Ridgeback, as well as Buckbeak, are all on the same page. So that'll be one of the pages, and we're going to look at it in a little bit, that you may actually focus in on. And we'll talk about that when we get to the tasks a little bit as well. Keep in mind there's a greater chance to get Care of Magical Creatures runestones when you return them, so you should be able to start to stock up on them if you're not already stocked up on them. In addition, they'll be doing the standard Forest 4 Chamber and higher. We'll get you 2 specific foundables, which is Hagrid's Hut and the Abraxan Winged Horse. Again, both of them come from a specific page. They actually come from the same page as Hagrid and Buckbeak and Baby Norwegian Ridgeback. So that whole page is kind of available during this weekend. That's why we'll talk more about that page specifically and what to go after. There will, of course, be bundles in the store, but I'm not going to go over them because it's nothing special. Just make sure to pick up your complimentary gift. It has some spell energy, Care of Magical Creatures runestone, and then the ingredients for tonic for trace detection. So take that, go ahead and start brewing that. That's a freebie. Moving on to the tasks themselves, it starts out with completing 10 wizarding challenges, which is a decent number. We do have the weekend to do it, but that is a lot. With 3 or more teammates. Reminder, again, as always, you and 2 other people meets this requirement. You don't need 3 other teammates. You just need 2, and then 3, including yourself. And that's going to get you a Powdered Dragon Claw. Next up, you're going to need to defeat 25 foes in Wizarding Challenges, which shouldn't be a problem. If you do those 10 challenges, you should get a decent number. And then you might have to run some more, either solo or with other people, to get those last few. And that gets you a Dawdle Draft. Next up is earn 1,200 Care of Magical Creatures family experience to get 2 strong invigoration potions. Whew, that's a decent amount of Care of Magical Creatures family experience. We're going to come back to this task. This is really probably going to be the one that's more divisive, and I'm sure people will have varying opinions about this. But we'll talk about this when we get to the end, because it's really the only part of this that we need to talk about how we're going to do it. The last 3 tasks are just about collecting things that are going to have increased spawns. So the first one is to return 20 Baby Norwegian Ridgeback, and it's going to get you 3 level 5 Care of Magical Creatures runestones. Next up is to return 15 Buckbeak, and that's going to get you 10 spell energy. And then the last thing is to return 12 Hagrid, which will also get you 10 spell energy. And if you complete all that, you're going to get 200 family experience for Care of Magical Creatures. You're going to get 2 Defense Against Dark Arts books, you're going to get 2 spell books, and you're going to get 1 silver key. So rewards wise, I would say pretty modest, because just 2 Defense Against Dark Arts books. Spell books, most people don't need them. And those that do, this wouldn't be their best way to get them anyway. It would be running Fortresses is your best way to do that. And then the silver key is just kind of thrown in an extra thing. I've opened up my game so we can get into some of the finer points of the Wizarding Weekend. Really 2 things. The registry page that I think is going to be the most useful to us, or the one we're really working on, and then also talking about that 1,200, and they kind of go hand in hand. So I am here on Hagrid's Hut page, which most of the event revolves around this page. There are other stuff, and we'll talk about where that is. But on this page here alone, you can see Hagrid's Hut in the background, one of the Fortress Foundables we can get. The Abraxan Winged Horse up there, that's also a Fortress Foundable. Again, both of those guaranteed from Forest 4 or higher. And then the other three, Buckbeak, Baby Norwegian Ridgeback, and Hagrid, all three of those are going to have increased spawns. Now, if I go down a page to right here, you can see at the very bottom of the Forbidden Forest page, in the middle is the Dragon Egg. I'm 24 out of 30. And actually, if you notice, look, I'm green started in a couple things on this. It is silver. For Wrens, I still need 6 pieces. That's going to be more. And then the Puffskein over here, 4 out of 21, which again isn't something for the Wizarding weekend, but tomorrow's event, you can actually get Puffskein. I think it's in Forest 4 or higher. So, or Forest 5, not or higher, just Forest 5 straight up. So I'll probably be running Forest 5 at least a number of times trying to build up that Puffskein. But coming back to this page, we already have to return a certain number of Hagrids, a certain number of Buckbeaks, and a certain number of Baby Norwegian Ridgebacks. So you're going to build up on this. And if you run Forest Chamber 4 or higher, you're going to get one of the 2 up there. So this page definitely will be a page that you should have an easier time potentially prestiging. Really as far as you want to go with it, because just the more time you put in, eventually you should be able to get all the fragments you need. Some obviously more than others, because I'm only on the bronze here. I'm at the higher levels, you need so many, it probably is going to be a little more difficult. But this will be the page I'm looking at. If you look at mine, Buckbeak is actually ready to place, Baby Norwegian is ready to place, and Hagrid's ready to place. I did not plan this out, just pure luck that I happen to have those at that level at this time. The Abraxan winged horse in the back there you can see is already green starred, so it's ready to go to the silver page. Hagrid's hut, I'm 10 out of 14, so I still need 4 pieces of that. I may actually try to get up to 14 out of that right off the bat when this event starts, is go ahead and start running some Forest 4 or higher. And I'll probably get fragments of both, which is not a big deal. I can build up some fragments of the winged horse to carry forward. But I want to get Hagrid's hut filled up so I can carry all these other fragments forward. Even though I know placing these images would actually get me family experience, but if I carry them over and then get the additional fragments I need on the silver page, I will end up with more family experience than I would have gotten, because it always gets more efficient as it moves up, getting that family experience. So before this event begins, I would just suggest looking at your Hagrid's hut page, figure out what you need, and kind of figure out what your strategy is. It really will change based on where you are. If you're already on gold, you don't have to worry about it. You can just get fragments, you're going to get to place images, and it's going to get you a lot of family experience. Speaking of which, 1200 family experience. Let's talk about how you're going to get it. Now, returning these foundables, Buckbeak, Baby Norwegian Ridgeback, and Hagrid, all of them are going to get you smaller chunks, but it's always placing the images. It's always the big thing. So let's first look at Hagrid's hut. And Hagrid's hut is a fortress foundable, and it's going to be the same for all the fortress foundables. So if you look here, if you are on the very base page and you build up Hagrid's hut and you place it, you're going to get 80. Towards 1200, not a lot. But if you're on bronze, that's 250 right there, towards that 1200. So if you placed it 6 times, you'd be done. Not that you're going to place it 6 times. If you happen to be on the silver page, you can see it's 600 Care of Magical Creatures family experience, which of course is obviously a huge chunk. It's half of it. You've got half of it done already. And if you happen to be on gold, it's 1200. If you're on gold, all you need to do is get Hagrid's hut, place it, and you're done with this. So in which case, that particular task will seem easy. Now for me, if you look, I'm actually 10 out of 14. So if I build up just 4 more, then I'm going to be, I can place the image and I'll get 250 and I'll move on to silver. If I can build it up again on silver, although on silver I believe it's 21 fragments, I could get 600. But even now, just build up those 4. If you're close to building up, I can get 250 just for that. The Abraxan Winged Horse, if you notice, it's also a fortress foundable. It follows the same pattern. It follows that same pattern. And we talked about the Puffskein a little bit ago. Puffskein is also a fortress foundable. I am actually on the silver page for this. Now I need to get 17 fragments, but if I do build up, boom, there's 600 right there. So for me, looking at mine, I'm thinking to myself, okay, these are some of my biggest chunks. In addition, if we look at Ferenz isn't there. He is a severe level foundable though, and I can kind of look at, okay, regular page I would get 50, this bronze page I would get 120, silver page 200, and then gold 350. And the reason I look at him, and really it's the bronze page I'm looking at, 120, is because I happen to know this. Buckbeak is severe level, so I will get the 120 on this page because I have the 10 of 10. but I'm going to save it over to silver. I'm going to save those fragments over to silver. I'm going to save Baby Norwegian Ridgeback over and Hagrid over. Again, back to friends, you can see on silver you get 200. So if I save my Buckbeak fragments and pull them over, I'm going to be able to get 200 when I place Buckbeak. And if I save those fragments to the next page, having to return a whole bunch for the tasks anyway, I'm going to build back up and be able to place that image and get 200. So that's going to be that's 1/6 of what I need. In addition to Hagrid's Hut, which gets me a big chunk, in addition to returning a bunch of these guys, is going to get me a chunk. I should be able to build myself to 1200. But that's by me looking at my registry and figuring out what am I close to, what do I want to carry forward, because on the next page I'll get more bang for my buck on fragment counts. Same amount of fragments get you more family experience, and that's really what you're going for. In addition, if you happen to have any images that haven't been placed yet, don't place them, obviously, save them. I still definitely feel like 1200 a family experience might be a bit high for people that don't already have a bunch of fragments or have enough time to put in to actually build up to that many fragments to be able to place images multiple times potentially, because I feel like I'm probably going to have to place some images at least more than once or grind out unfoundables that much more just to make it to that last 1200. Keep in mind, family experience cannot be doubled by Barufios. There's no way to get more family experience. You're just getting the amount you get, and that's all there is to it. All that being said, just make sure you look through your pages and decide which images you're going to be able to place, and if possible, hold fragments over to the next page, because that image is always going to get you more than the previous pages for the same number of fragments. The per fragment family experience you would get on a higher page, always better. So always save if you can. And make sure to look at your puff scheme, because if you happen to be close on Thanksgiving Day during the 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., go ahead and run that chamber to try to get puff skeins and build up that image just so you can hold on to it and place it when the event actually begins. That is going to do it for this video. I hope that the 2 events didn't sneak up on you too much, and I hope you see this video before tomorrow at least and the Thanksgiving Day event, so you can make sure to run some fortresses. That's at least for something like that, I feel like I can do that during Thanksgiving festivities every once in a while. Just go into fortresses, run them a couple times, try to get some of those foundables. And then the Wizarding Weekend, just prep for that like we talked about. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Knox.